Konnichiwa. Today we're going to talk about the helper noun so, which can mean either likeness or hearsay, either that something seems like something or that we are stating not our own view or opinion but something we've heard. Differentiating the two can seem difficult, especially when the textbooks give you a list of connections to nouns and verbs and various different things. It's much less complicated when you understand the underlying principle, what's actually going on with so you don't have to memorize a lot of different things. So, first of all, what is so? It's the same so that we learned about recently that comes in ko, so, do. So means like that, which makes it, of course, a very good candidate for describing something seeming like something. When it's used in that way, we use it by attaching it to any one of the three engines. And remember, as we've learned before, that each of the three engines can be moved behind other cars to turn them into adjectives. Now, once so has been attached to an engine, the engine becomes a new adjectival noun. How do we attach them? We do the same thing in every case. We take the last kana from the engine. That is the kana that makes it what it is, its active part. So we take the da from the da engine, the da or the na from the da na engine. We take the I from the I engine, and from the verb engine we take that last ro kana. And we just put so onto it, so it's a very simple connection. And the important thing to remember here is in the case of nouns, we can't do it with an ordinary regular noun, we can only do it with an adjectival noun. In other words, if an adjectival noun is an adjectival noun to start with, we can turn it into a different adjectival noun with so. If it wasn't an adjectival noun to start with, it can't be turned into an adjectival noun. So if we take adjectival nouns like genki, lively or healthy, and shizuka, which is quiet, if we say shizuka da, we mean is quiet. If we say genki da, we mean is lively or healthy. If we say genki na gakusei, we're saying a lively or healthy student. Now, if we take off that da or na and put on so, and we say genki so na gakusei, we're saying a lively looking student, a lively seeming student. Similarly, if we say shizuka na onnanoko, we're saying a quiet girl. If we take off that na or da and put on so and say shizuka so na onnanoko, we're saying a quiet seeming girl, a quiet looking girl. So that's really very simple, isn't it? With adjectives that end in I, we simply take off that I and put so onto it. So if we take omoshiroi, interesting or amusing, oishii, delicious, we just cut off the I and add so. So omoshiroi means interesting or amusing. Omoshiro so means seems interesting, seems amusing. Oishii means delicious, tasty. Oishiso means it looks delicious, it looks tasty. And this is an important one to remember because, as we've mentioned before, Japanese is a lot stricter about English in restricting us to saying only things that we can actually know for ourselves. So, unless you've tasted something, you can't say it's oishii. Unless you've done something, you can't say it's omoshiroi, interesting or amusing. Logically, this perhaps ought to be so in English, but Japanese is a lot stricter about it. So, it's important to know things like omoshiro so, oishi so, if we haven't actually tasted the food done the activity or whatever. Now, with verbs, we cut off the ro kana. Obviously, as always, in the case of ichidan verbs, that's all we do. And in the case of godan verbs, we use the I stem. And the I stem is what you might call the pure stem of a verb. In Japanese, it's called rennyoke, which means connective use form. And that might sound strange because we know that all four stems actually connect things. But while the other three have particular uses, the rennyoke, the I stem, as well as its particular uses, can be used to connect almost anything. It can connect verbs to nouns to make new nouns. It can connect verbs to make new verbs, and so on. So, we connect so to the rennyoke, the I stem, the general purpose connecting stem of verbs. What do they mean? Well, generally speaking, they mean that something appears to be about to happen. So, ame ga furisou da means it looks as if it's about to rain. Kodomo ga nakisou means the child looks as if she's about to cry, seems as if she's about to cry. And if you see that, quite similar to what we might say in English, it looks like rain. It seems as if it's about to rain. So these usages are really quite straightforward. Now, what do we do when we're using so to mean hearsay, to mean I heard something? I'm not reporting my own observation or feeling. I'm reporting what I got at second hand from somebody else. Some people will say this is also a suffix and we have to observe different rules for applying it, but the truth is that it is not a suffix. The so we've just discussed is a suffix. We join it to other words in order to form a new word. Whatever the word was to start with, once so is attached, it becomes an adjectival noun. This is not what happens when we're talking about hearsay. When we're talking about hearsay, we use soda or sodes after the entire complete sentence. So the complete sentence becomes the A car of the sentence and the soda becomes the B engine. And the content of the sentence is now subordinate. So let's take an example. Sakura ga Nihonjin da soda. What we're saying here is, I've heard that Sakura is a Japanese person. So, Sakura is a Japanese person is all taken together as car A, the subject of the sentence, and then what we're saying about it is that we've heard it. Why do we use soda, sodas, to mean I've heard? Well, if you think about it, it's similar to what we might say in English. Suppose we say, why isn't that car in the street anymore? And you say, it seems some masked people came and drove it away. Now, when you say that, what that means is that somebody's told you that, doesn't it? If you'd seen it yourself, you'd have said some masked people came and drove it away. But when you say, it seems some masked people came and drove it away, what you're saying is, well, that's the story I've heard. And it's the same in Japanese, only a little more systematically. Soda, sodes, when added as the B engine to an entire completed sentence, is always saying that this is what we've heard. This is the information we have for what it's worth. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below and I will answer. I'd like to thank my Gold Kokeshi patrons who make these videos possible, and all my patrons and supporters on Patreon and everywhere. And I'd like to thank you for attending this lesson. これからもよろしくお願いします. Class dismissed.